Lately, I've been really into getting back to producing music. Back in probably undergrad, I used to make a lot of music, mostly guitar based, kind of rock, sometimes even metal. And I would say probably closer to the end of undergrad, I would start to make more kind of electronic music. I started with house music because it's easier to do. And I just kind of branched out from there. But when I got to PT school, a lot of that sort of just trailed off. I didn't have a lot of time to work on a lot of that stuff. And just with studies and all, I just didn't have enough time to devote to it, which is a shame. But with having a little bit more time recently, I really wanted to delve back into it because it's something that I just truly have a passion for. I love it. I mean, it's honestly, I pretty much have as much joy making music as I do just, keeping fit and being healthy and all of that jazz. And so in the past couple of weeks, I've really been trying to get back into making music and producing music. Because I'll be honest, there is a part of me that would really like that still as a career, but one step at a time. So the past couple days or so, I've been really trying to finish songs. One of the biggest problems that I had before when making music is I would have this idea that would come to my head, and I would get that idea down on paper, and it would probably just be a 5 to 10 second loop. It wasn't anything crazy, more just like a melody that popped into my head, and nothing else would come to my mind. This time over, I'm trying to honestly take some of the lessons I've learned with trying to start a business into how I go to make music and make tracks. And so one of the things that I have been trying to do lately is once I am in the session, so once I actually am in my environment and making music, I try to get as many ideas out as possible, and I try not to be judgmental about them. And that's something that in the past that I really struggled with. I would get really nitpicky in that even if I would put down what I would consider to be a good sounding riff or whatever it was, and then I would edit every little nuance, like, oh, this EQ should do this, or I don't think it's compressed enough, and I would drill down. And the problem with that is once I would go down that road and I would go down that path of doing all this editing, it would take me out of my creative sphere. So that when I tried to go back to that and tried to create new melodies, create rhythms, it wouldn't work because I devoted all of my energy on trying to edit something that didn't really matter in the long run. This go around, I'm scrapping that and I am trying to finish songs. And I figured I would document sort of my journey and how I do it. I feel like the best way to keep accountable and to keep progressing and getting better at things like this is to post it for everyone to hear and to document my journey, partly for me and then partly for anyone else that is thinking about doing the same thing and wants to also know about what to expect. And so I brought this along. So this is, obviously if you're listening to this, then you don't know what I'm pointing to, but this is my keyboard where I've been making most of my music from. Obviously it's very limited, so I can't do full scale chords or anything of that nature. But for most of what I need to do, it works out pretty nicely. And I have all these knobs that truthfully I don't use a whole lot, but what the idea is that once I progress enough, then I'll probably start doing that just for efficiency's sake. Because I don't consider myself to be advanced in any way. When it comes to music production, I would say that I'm a beginner intermediate. I'm probably cresting the two. If there's one thing that I've learned when it comes to producing music and making music, especially music that is more electronic. I find it to be a lot harder. If you listen to the music out there, it doesn't sound that hard. A lot of the music is pretty simple, just four on the floor beats and some synths, some bass, drums. The real struggle lies with trying to find the right sound. Because when you have a guitar, and this back when I was recording, say 10 years ago, most of my recordings was guitar, and the only real electronic instrument I would use would maybe be fake bass and fake drums. But now that everything is synthesis, there's a lot more variability and a lot more variety. Whereas a guitar, there's really a few different sounds. You have your clean electric, you have acoustic, you have distorted electric, and then you can add a few effects here and there. And if you listen to any piece of contemporary modern music, a guitar sound is pretty much going to follow one of those basic recipes. It's either going to be electric or acoustic, and it's either going to be clean or distorted, and it'll have some effects thrown in. When you're dealing with synthesis and when you're dealing with any sort of electronic music, a synth has millions of sounds, millions. Now, they all derive from fundamental sound frequencies or waves rather, and there's 4 that I know of, and probably more beyond that. Still learning that part. But you can combine those to make a ridiculous number of sounds, and that becomes overwhelming. The challenge that I face is when producing music, I see all of the equipment that other people are using, and I think to myself, oh, wow, that sounds intense. Like, I want that. And that thing that I want, that synth or that virtual drummer, whatever it is often $300 to $400. Obviously, I can't be plunking down that every time I have this impulse to want a new instrument. And honestly, the more that I have, like, I have a reasonable amount of synths right now, and it's overwhelming. There's over 10,000 patches that I can pick from. For those that don't know, a patch is basically just a preset of settings that have been established by someone way smarter than I. And so I'm just going through and I'm just scrolling, going through all of these patches, and it can often take not 30 minutes, but it can take like 10 minutes to find the sound that I'm looking for. One way that I've tackled rectifying that issue is I've taken it upon myself to purchase some sound design courses. Now, these are pretty cheap courses. They're specific to the synths I have. They're only $20, but they've given me a real heads up in the sense that I now have a better understanding on, 1, how on earth are synths even made, and 2, if I hear a sound in a song that I find that I resonate with, how can I recreate that, or at least make something kind of similar to what I make, or how can I make something similar to what I hear? Because obviously there's a lot of different sounds. Okay, you have your dirty sort of dubstep wobble bass, and then everything else really. That was an awful impression. Okay, so the past couple days I've made a couple tracks, and I found that I'm jumping all over. I apologize. This is an entirely unscripted episode, if you couldn't tell already. One of the things that I've been trying to do is to escape the rut that I've been in the past with starting something and then never finishing it. So I've already talked about the fact that if I start something on a given day, I at least have to try to finish it. And that's what I did today, is I started a song. I had an idea in my head, and I've just been taking ideas from songs that I like, because I figure, why try to make something that may be pop friendly or whatever it is, when I can make something that I enjoy? Because if I'm making something that I enjoy, then I get more enjoyment out of it. And so that's really what I've been doing with that. And then the other thing that I've been doing is also really digging deep into analyzing songs that I do like. All right, so for example, I've been trying to recreate some fairly simple EDM songs so that I have a better understanding of the arrangement of them. Because I've done so many tracks where I've just put an idea down on my my DAW or my recording workstation, and I've never opened it again, I haven't really trained myself to be able to arrange from start to finish. I've taken inspiration from other songs, and I've delved deeper into figuring out not only what instruments and what sounds they use, but when are they adding them in? What does it sound like? What's the structure of it? Is it verse, pre-chorus, chorus, verse, bridge, chorus? What's the structure of it? When are they taking the drums out? When are they adding different instruments in? How long is that addition of an instrument being taken out? How are they modifying the bridge to make it different from the verses? I'm diving into all of that so that I can have a better idea on how to make a more interesting track. And I found that to be really helpful. And I recreated Calvin Harris's, what is the name of the song? I can't think of it. Not How Deep Is Your Love? We Found Love. That's it. We Found Love with Rihanna. God, it took me forever to think about that. So I recreated that song, and the reason I picked that song is it's honestly one of the first songs that got me into EDM in the first place. I won't go into like the story, but I discovered EDM kind of by accident, I guess, when I went to Ireland on a study abroad trip, and I'd never really gone to clubs before, and the clubs were playing obviously EDM there, and it just wasn't really a genre of music that I was used to listening to. And that song, along with his other song Feel So Close, was two of some of the most played songs, as well as Avicii's Levels. It was that era when I went to Ireland, and those songs blew up. They were huge. And so I figured, what better homage than to try to recreate some of those songs? Because the beauty of it is that the Calvin Harris song, We Found Love, is not really that complicated, but there are just enough nuances in that song to challenge me to figure out how to do it using a synthesizer. Because again, I'm used to recording everything through a guitar, so I have to think entirely differently now on how to use a keyboard. I'm kind of a beginner at this. Guitar, I'll say I'm pretty, advanced at. But when it comes to keyboard, definitely, especially synthesis, not the case at all. So I recreated that. I'm actually going to put the audio of the version that I recreated at the end of this video. So if you are interested, it's going to be at the end of the podcast too, if you happen to be listening to this. But I'm going to go ahead and plug that at the end of this video. And then following that, I'm also going to upload the audio of the song that I've worked on today. So I spent 2 to 3 hours constructing a song from start to finish. Folks, usually it takes me 2 to 3 weeks to finish a song, so I was grinding today to figure this out. Am I happy with it? No, not really. But I have it finished, and it's something that I'm at least willing to upload. And if you are a musician, or hell, even if you just like music and you like electronic music, then let me know what you think. Like, this is my chance to learn, so if you have any sort of feedback that could help me along, like, hey, I think you should do this here, or that clap is too loud, or bro, that melody sucks. I don't care. You just let me know, and I can try to make it better. That's what it's all about. So I'll probably be posting kind of my continuous journey through this. This is something that I'm pretty serious about doing to get better at music production. And ultimately, I do want to work with vocalists to try to get actual songs put together. So if you are a vocalist, that is another thing that you can message me about. Maybe we can collaborate and get something going. All right, that is all I have for today's video, today's podcast. Until next time, I will see you then.